How many titles do you have on your 9 to 5? I know you're an HR professional, but are you also the counselor? Are you the mediator? Are you the enforcer? Are you a confidant? Are you the a safety director? You have a lot of hats that you wear as an HR professional. Anyone outside of the industry sees HR as those that just hire and fire, and sometimes you do benefits and sometimes you do payroll. But you and I both know that HR is so much bigger than that. HR is a big, big job. It's a big, big job with big, big responsibilities and a lot of legal implications as well. So as a new HR professional, or even as a seasoned HR professional, I know that you feel the weight and the stress of the job. And because I felt it, because I feel it. So my name is Brittany Graddick. I am CEO of Talented Teams Consulting, where I work with small HR teams and new HR professionals to help you to break out of the day-to-day work and help you to work strategically so you can position yourself as a value add to your organization and so that you can grow professionally and personally. I know how difficult it is as an HR professional to have the weight of the job always on your mind, and it can manifest itself physically in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I create this YouTube channel now because I want to be a resource for you. I want this to be a safe space for you to come learn new ideas, get inspired, take ideas back to your organization. And if you want to work with me to help you to implement anything, I am certainly open to that. But I really want this channel to be for you to gain value and to know how important the work is that you do. So today we're going to talk about 5 mistakes that I've seen HR professionals make as they try to become successful in HR within their HR careers. I know these are mistakes because I've made these mistakes. And if I'm not careful, I will continue to make these mistakes. So I'm making this video for you as much as I'm making it for me. So if you find this video to be helpful, if there's anything that kind of sparks a new idea, I would love it if you would like this video, leave a comment below about your biggest takeaway, and let's engage in the comments. I really want this channel to be a safe space for HR professionals to come together so that we can just have some camaraderie and have some group discussion. So the first mistake that I see new HR professionals make is relying on the response of, because that's the way we've always done it. If you've been in HR for any period of time, especially if you're new to an established business, you ask questions like, okay, so why do we do it this way? And why do we do it that way? I challenge you, if the answer to that question is, that's the way we've always done it, either they don't understand it or they don't have the answers for you. So if you ever get that answer, that's the way you've always done it, do not merely accept that answer. Dig a little bit deeper. You might have to ask a different person. You might have to do your own research. You might have to bring a different idea to the table. Sometimes it's difficult for someone to see things differently because they don't know what the alternative could be. So I would challenge you to, if you're in an organization where you're getting the answer of that's the way you've always done it, especially if you are the sole HR representative, because a lot of times, I think 30% of all SHRM members are HR departments of one. So if you're the only HR person in your organization and you're getting those kind of answers, I challenge you to look for different ways to add value to the organization and suggest a different way. My second tip would be to make sure that you are building your emotional intelligence. Are you in tune with what your EQ? We always talk about IQ, but what's your EQ? I feel that it's very important for HR professionals specifically, if not all managers in general, to have a high emotional intelligence, because when you're dealing with not only people, but you're dealing with pay, you're dealing with benefits, you're dealing with difficult conversations, and it's important for you to be able to read the room. If you know that you can have a blunt personality, or if you know that you have a difficult time reading the room, I challenge you to find some avenues to where you can hone those skills, to be a part of different conversations, to join your local SHRM chapter, to get integrated with different HR groups, to join my community as well, so that you can get used to talking through different ideas. A lot of times people work off of emotion, which is fine, we're all human, but as HR professionals, we're held to a different standard. So we want to make sure that we are not only coming to the table with what everyone else does, but we have to make sure we are highly emotionally intelligent to make sure we're navigating difficult conversations in the best way so that we can also make sure that we are keeping our position, keeping ourselves in a position to be respected, to be admired for the way that we carry ourselves, even in difficult situations. The third mistake that I see is people thinking that you have to have all the answers. You don't have to have all the answers with HR. You will never have all the answers when it comes to HR or any job for that matter. But the one thing that you do have to make sure you know how to do is know where to find the answers. So whether that's knowing who to call, knowing what website to go to, knowing what resource to pull off the shelf, it's really important that you don't stress yourself out trying to have all the ideas in your head, because there's no way you can keep it all up there. Believe me, I tried. But you want to make sure you know where to find those answers. Believe it or not, once you let go of the pressure of having to memorize every single thing, it's going to help you to be freed up, to be resourceful. And you can always find yourself to be known in your organization as the HR expert. Not because you know it all, but because you know your limits. People respect that. And then also because you know where to find those answers. You'll look so much smarter, so much more intelligent if you don't say things that you don't know to be true, but you only speak what you know are facts. My next mistake that I see a lot of HR professionals make is not setting appropriate boundaries. Now, boundaries is a touchy subject from time to time because you don't know when to say no. You don't know when to say no to certain assignments. You don't know when to say no to certain requests. But it's important for you to know your boundaries, because if you don't, the weight of the job is very significant and it will weigh on you. I know from experience. So personally, myself, I have the physical manifestation of my stress in multiple ways. Sometimes it manifests itself in self-doubt. Sometimes it manifests itself in lack of sleep. But often it manifests itself in debilitating migraines. And I know when I push myself up against that wall, it's difficult for me to come back from it. And I realize I'm not setting appropriate boundaries. So that means taking mental breaks during the day. Taking your lunch break. I feel like it took me 4 years to make sure that I took consistent lunch breaks. Even if you just go to your car, you need a mental break from the stress of the day. I'm talking to my HR professionals of one. If you are the only HR person on your team, if you're the only HR person in your organization, you must take your break. You must take your lunch every day. For your mental sanity, you must take your lunch. And I say that from experience. The job will never be done. The job will never you will never feel satisfied or accomplished as if you can button up the day and say, okay, well, now I can go off for a week. Because we're dealing with people and because we're dealing with the things that are important to people, the job is never done. And so because of that, free yourself from the pressure to button everything up and check off everything on your list at the end of every day. You really want to make sure you're setting appropriate boundaries so that your family can still have you whole. Don't let your family have the piece of you that's left, but let your family have a whole you once you're done with your work. And then the fifth tip I would say, or the fifth mistake I would say, is thinking that you have to do this by yourself. Even if you are an HR professional of one, an HR department of one, you don't have to do this thing alone. There are so many different HR organizations. There are so many different employer chapters or industry-specific resources. So just like the prior tip about knowing where to go to get your answers, it's important that you have people that you can bounce ideas off of that are outside of your organization. I think it's important for you to make sure that you don't only rely on people within your organization because they only have seen maybe what you've seen. But if you go outside of your team, outside of those four walls of that building, you can find new ideas. You can add innovative, collaborative ideas to your team. And you can also add value as a valued member of your team. And that can help you find professional success as well. So I hope these tips have been very helpful for you. These are some of the mistakes that I found myself overcoming over my last 15 years of HR experience, and I hope that these help you as well. At Talented Teams Consulting, I work with these new HR professionals just like yourself to help you to overcome these challenges and also to help you to make sure that you're not making these mistakes and you're working strategically instead of reactively. So if you have any questions for me, click any of the links below. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was, or what's a mistake that you make or that you've seen others make that I did not cover in this video. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I hope to connect with you again soon. Bye.